Hi guys, I figured I would do a quick little, well, it may not be quick, but a quick little video on getting into the hobby, things to understand, the most important things to understand. And to help me do that, I'll bust out the old koi log, the koi notes. I made this just so I, again, didn't have to try to remember absolutely everything. So let's start out with setting up the pond. You want to make sure you're big enough. The minimum for raising koi in a pond, if they're just hobby koi, if you're not trying to have a show quality koi, you want around 200 gallons per koi. Obviously, the koi grow, they get bigger. I have 7 in mine right now, which is too many if you go by the 200 per. As they grow, then I need to make accommodations to get that stock level down. That's why I'm building a pond next spring. So a minimum of 1,000 gallons. You should be comfortable with 4 koi at 1,000 gallons. 2,000 gallons obviously will get you, twice as many koi. So don't build a pond that's too small. You can build a pond big enough to accommodate nice, healthy sized fish on a budget. Don't have to break the bank to do it. But just make sure to plan. Plan. It can take a lot longer to get it accomplished if you haven't planned things out, tried things. The next thing you want to look at is what kind of koi you want to get. Again, if you're buying just hobby level koi, the basic pond will do just fine. If you're getting import, high quality koi that you're spending hundreds of dollars on, you're going to want to make sure that you have proper filtration, big enough space in the pond. I would recommend an auto feeder because to get the growth you want out of them, you're not going to be able to feed them enough throughout the day. Feeding them 4 or 5 times throughout the day when the water temperatures are at 70 degrees is a lot easier with an auto feeder. So when you're at the fish store, I recommend going to a store that specializes in koi. I wouldn't recommend so much a Petco or a PetSmart to buy koi at. Try to pick one out and see it a few different times to make sure it is a healthy fish, that it's always active when you go in there. Maybe the fish store would allow you to hold it for a few days so you can visit it and make sure it's what you want, so it doesn't get sold out from underneath you. But you'll never know if you don't ask. If they're healthy, not showing any signs of illness, any physical deformities, any injuries, then if it's a fish you like, then get it. If you see things that seem out of place, I would recommend not getting it. Because again, these are not 29-cent feeder goldfish. These will range anywhere from $5 bill to thousands of dollars. And again, the higher quality koi you get, the more you're going to pay. Next thing you're going to run into is when you start looking at what does my water got to be like to raise koi or in my pond. You're going to run across hundreds of sites with hundreds of different numbers. What I've done is I went through the ones that I feel are reputable, that had enough visits, enough comments in the sections, whatever you want to say, and I just kind of averaged out the numbers for my own ballpark. You may not be able to hit the perfect levels because your source water may be too low of this or too high of that. Now you can get into chemistry and you can add a bunch of this and add this and add this to get it perfect. But if you're trying to establish perfect water with unperfect water, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of money to achieve that. The most important thing to remember is to prevent swings, drastic swings. If something fluctuates by 0.5 or by 20 to 30 parts per million within a day, that's fine. You don't want, like say if pH is at 8.3, unusual 8.3, you do not want it to drop to 7 within an hour or two. That's going to stress the fish. So I'm going to cover real quick what the optimum parameters are. So for your pH, 7.2 to 7.8, 7.6 is optimum. If you can keep it in that ballpark, you're good. Your KH, your carbonate hardness, 105 to 200 parts per million. Your GH is 100, general hardness, 100 to 200 parts per million. Your ammonia, your nitrite, and your nitrate, which we've discussed multiple times, should be 0 at all times. Your phosphate, you always want as low as possible. The higher your phosphate count gets, the more prone you would be to an outbreak of algae, an algae bloom. Calcium, if you're adding clay, your calcium will be there. You do want 25 to 100 parts per million. Your fish do absorb calcium. They need calcium. And the temperature, 68 to 78. Obviously, if they're in a pond, it's going to fluctuate from there. We've had videos on winter prep. There's plenty of people out there that are getting their ponds ready for winter. The fish will survive in it. Survive, but they will not be happy and they will not thrive. So again, these parameters, I'm going to stress to you, are where it would be great if you could keep it there. However, if you're starting out with very low general hardness or very low KH, there's ways to boost it. But if it's close to these parameters, the fish will acclimate, they will get used to it. But you want to prevent drastic swings in any of these parameters. Again, that's the most important thing. So another thing I would recommend is getting a book put together like this. Through the book, I have a section with disease stuff in it that shows symptoms of diseases, parasites, all of that wonderful stuff that likes to torment our fish, and the cures on how to take care of it. I also have a breakdown on water change, how and why we do them, what our levels should be. Dissolved oxygen is another important one, a very important one. It's hard to test for because it's a very expensive meter to buy, plain and simple. As long as you have good aeration and as long as your pumps are working good and turning water, you will be fine. Again, sections on the water change, how frequent you should do them, and as the fish get bigger, I'm gonna have to do them more frequently. And then a section with different kinds of koi, how to identify them, all of that fun stuff. So again, just to recap quick, plan accordingly, plan your pond accordingly, picking out the fish you want and studying them before you buy them. Understanding the parameters, understanding consistency is the key. Achieving the perfect water is not necessary. Again, if you're raising show quality koi and you're going to be putting these guys in shows and they cost you thousands of dollars, well, obviously investing in perfect water makes sense. If you're doing it for a hobby, keeping it consistent is the most important part. Once you get your koi, your water's good because you've been testing your water, and you go buy your koi and you go to put them in a pond. In the pond, you have to acclimate the fish, leave them in the bag, let them sit in there for 5-10 minutes, let a little bit of the pond water in the bag, let it set for another 5 minutes, let a little more pond water into the bag, let it set for about another 5 minutes, and then they should be good to go. Try to just put the fish into the water. Don't dump the store water into the pond, because if there was a parasite or something in that water, now it's in your pond. You don't want that. So try to just pick your fish out and put them in the water. If you already have fish in the pond, you want to quarantine your fish before you add them to the pond. In case that fish has a parasite, you do not want it spreading to all the others. Quarantining typically is 2 weeks. That'll be able, and keep them in a smaller, like if I bought a new koi, a 55-gallon aquarium would be about perfect, because it's glass. I can see him. I would be able to see if he's getting any sores. I'd be able to see how he's acting, how he's breathing, how he's eating, everything. So after 2 weeks, parasite-free, sore-free, active, feeding good, put him in a bag of water, you know, take him out, acclimate him, let him loose in the pond. Once you do that, it's just staying on top of feedings, making sure you're feeding quality food, cleaning the filters, cleaning your pond, and as they get bigger, making sure you have as few obstructions in the water, in the pond, that they can get injured on, rub up against, hurt themselves. Other than that, they pretty much take care of themselves. Your job is to take care of the water. There's nothing they can do about the water. So if you guys have any questions on starting out or any more technical things dealing with koi, let me know. And I keep pointing to the tank. These aren't koi. They are some of my pond fish though. They're sarasas and shabunkins, and the tanks are finally cycling. That one's no ammonia, a little bit of nitrite left. This one's staying pretty low on ammonia and starting to get some traces of nitrite. So it means it's cycling. The biofilter is starting to take. So that's good. They're healthy as can be, happy as can be. Not feeding them very much right now because I want the biofilters to catch on. So again, if you guys have any questions dealing with koi or even aquariums for that matter, please feel free to ask. I'm going to link a couple of videos to a couple guys I like to watch, and I'm also going to link a video for a DIY 4,000 gallon pond. A guy did DIY everything on this thing, and if you're into the hobby or thinking about getting into the hobby, I absolutely recommend watching this video. It put me into awe when I watched it. It's amazing. So as always guys, thanks for watching. To all the subscribers out there, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed and you like what you see, please subscribe. Hit the old like button. And as always guys, keep on improving, keep on investing. And we'll catch you guys on the next video. See you later.